Two guys on a mission to provoke you to greatness.
We're tackling tough subjects and sharing real-life experiences.
No holds barred. We've fought for our family's freedom and want to help you achieve the same.
If you want to live a life you've never lived,
you have to do things you've never done.
Let the story begin. Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Nick and Mark Show.
Good
We're
to
at
see
it again.
you.
And guess what? It's episode 30. Did you know that?
Bro, 30.
Episode 30, baby. Super, super excited. Today's going to be an awesome show. We have a very special guest, my main man, Mr. Luke Raiford. And we're gonna get to know a little bit about who he is. Fun fact, Nick doesn't even know the guy. He's one of my buddies from the insurance business that we're in. But Nick, you're going to get to know Luke, and you have no idea what's coming. You have no idea what's coming. But Luke, welcome to the show, man. We appreciate having you on.
Thank you.
Good to meet you, Luke, virtually.
Yes, nice to meet you, Nick. Yes, sir.
Where are you out of? You're out of.
Yeah, I'm from Texas, but I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. So.
And where are you from in Texas?
In between Austin and Houston. It's a small town. Yeah, right where all the cows live. That's where I'm from.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I lived in between Dallas and Fort Worth for some time in South Lake. I don't know if you know South Lake.
Yeah, I do. I'm in Dallas probably once a month at least. So I'll be back next week.
Nick actually ran away to Dallas in disobedience for a few years. Yeah. Just to kind of find himself. And then he made his way back. Yeah, he made his way back. He was chasing a girl.
Okay.
It wasn't exactly like that.
Yeah. Yes, it was, dude.
But you know what happened, man? God was faithful, and he used that moment in my life, which was incredible to see his grace, to see his sovereign goodness over me, because we make stupid decisions, right? But God opened the door for me to work at Kenneth Copeland Ministries.
Oh, nice.
And he also allowed me to go to Christ for the Nations, which is a school in Dallas.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah, everything works out for the good for those who love him, right?
Right.
But it was hot. Luke, it's hot down there, bro.
Oh, yeah.
And the first house that I lived at, right, they had a hose that was around the foundation of the house that seeped water into the foundation.
Okay.
And I said, yo, your hose is leaking. And he goes, that's not a leak. We have to do that so that the foundation and the ground doesn't crack away. It stays moist. I said, I got to move back to Connecticut.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So are you from the East Coast? Are you from that part?
Yeah, Connecticut, tri-state. Yeah. We actually joke around the area that I'm from. We call it the Lost Borough.
The Lost Borough.
Because Manhattan, New York has 5 boroughs. Right. So we joke around that the lower part of Fairfield County actually, which it's part of the tri-state map.
Right.
And actually, Mark and I were featured in a song, I think, right? We were featured in a song with Jermaine.
Yeah.
Or we were part of something, and they actually talk about
I think it was Intelligence too, wasn't it?
Intelligence, Jermaine Page. Actually, I don't know. Do you know Alvin Slaughter, the praise and worship leader?
Doesn't ring a bell.
So he's got a son named Sean, and Sean Slaughter is a rapper.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but there used to be in the Bronx a rap fest, a Christian rap fest.
Wow.
And they would have 150 rappers, bro, in the weekend. I'm talking Grits, Cross Movement.
Right. Cross Movement. Yeah.
Bro, you name it, they were there.
That's cool. Cool. Yeah. So I lived in Boston, Massachusetts for a little bit. I actually lived in Foxborough, but so I lived there for almost 2 years, and so I've been to Connecticut before. It's beautiful land out there.
It is beautiful.
Country. It's definitely dope. Definitely dope. So you're in Vegas right now. Before we get too much into you guys, we have a pretty interesting show today. Obviously, everybody knows that Queen Elizabeth Deuces recently died, and some people have mixed opinions about that. Some people are like, yay, the witch is dead. And then other people are mourning and super
Have
sad.
People really said, "Yay, she's gone"?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. There's quite a bit.
Listen, I can't imagine the people that would say that about her because she was stellar.
Yeah.
They don't even deserve.
Listen. People, conspiracy theorists think she was part of the Illuminati and all that stuff. So
They don't deserve to be on the face
She's
of
a
the earth.
reptile.
Yeah, I've heard people say she's a reptile too. So I don't know.
She loved the Lord.
Well, let's hope, bro. Let's hope.
She used to spend time with Billy Graham.
Interesting. It's funny, bro, because on Facebook, you'll see some of the craziest posts. Some people like thanking God that she's dead, bro, and then other people literally saying rip and mourning and being like super sad.
I would have to imagine that those people also put a Q on their front door.
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
I'm just saying.
We want to touch on that subject, and obviously, guys, if you're listening to the podcast, let us know in the chat what you think and what some of your opinion is on the whole event that took place. This is a pretty big moment in history. I mean, the Queen's been a queen since before we were even born. You know?
Do you want to broach the subject about Queen Elizabeth right now?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk a little bit about Queenie.
So listen to this. This is very interesting, and I'm just going to share a couple of facts. Queen Elizabeth reigned for 70 years. And I think that this is important. I think this is important. For the people that are watching, are good people. These are some really cool facts about Queen Elizabeth, and if you don't know her, these are I think this is important. You got to get a visual. You kind of have to understand who she was. And some of these are funny facts as well, right? Like on her wedding day, her tiara broke. I don't know.
Interesting.
That's kind of funny. You would think, man, you know the Alice in Wonderland cartoon, off with her head. Mm-hmm. If her tiara broke on her wedding day, somebody's head was rolling.
For sure. Yeah.
But she reigned for 70 years from 1953 to 2022.
That's a long time to be in power, bro. Long time.
Yes, long time. And she was born on the 21st of April in 1926. Listen, 1926, and then she came into power in 1953. Put that together. She's the queen, bro, of a monarchy.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, but her family's a little wacky, bro.
Well,
the family's wacky.
Yeah. Now see, that's what we were talking about a little bit. We discussed who's in charge now.
Yeah.
Charles is in charge. Charles in charge.
So that power is going to
Did you ever watch that show, Charles in Charge?
Yes, of course.
He's been waiting a long time for that position.
She was the longest reigning monarch ever in Britain. And stop me if you hear something that you think is exciting. She was served, listen to this. She was served by 15 UK prime ministers. Can you imagine that? She lived to have 15 prime ministers served her in her time as queen. That's wild.
That's pretty wild. Yep.
Now, here's a pretty cool fact. Check this out. Her favorite dog was a corgi. Did you ever see her where she didn't have a corgi with her? Her corgis were always with her. And this is really neat. Her corgi was out in the yard one day with one of the royal family members' dachshunds. And she was the first person to make the dorgie.
You mean the corgi and the dachshund went together?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep.
The Queen's designer dog.
There you go. Queen's bruiser dog.
Did you ever used to drive without a license?
No. No. Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you drove without a license?
Maybe.
What about you, Luke?
What you put on the internet always stays on the internet.
I know, man. I have to watch it. Honestly, I don't know if I really remember it.
I drove.
There's a lot.
I drove my
okay, so
1965 Ford Mustang. Huh?
My dad would take me on back roads, because it's in the country, right? And I would just drive down back roads, every night. So we had church practice. So I would play the drums in the church band. I was young, it was like 11, 12, and then on up. And then as I got older, he would let me drive these back roads, 13 miles home that no cars were on. So I would just learn how to drive.
So
that's pretty cool, though.
This should make you feel better that you don't need to like hide those facts, right? You guys, you big important guys. Queen Elizabeth never had a driver's license and always drove.
Well, when you're the
elite
master of the universe, bro, I guess you can do whatever you want. That's crazy.
I think there's one more cool thing that would interest you because you are social marketers, right? She sent her first email in 1976.
Was email even around at that time?
For her, it was. And yes, email was around. She sent her first email in 1976, and she published her first Instagram post in 2019.
She was on
Isn't
Instagram
that cool?
too.
She tagged Abe Lincoln. She tagged Abe Lincoln in that one.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. I got a fun fact. She owned an elephant, 2 giant turtles, a jaguar, and 2 pairs of sloths.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
I don't know how you do that, but apparently she did it. I don't know. Were they living in the palace with her?
She had a lot of properties. Do you know that her first property she owned, she was only 8 years old?
That's crazy.
Wow.
That's pretty nuts, right?
One of those families where you get things passed down to you, of course.
Yeah, well, actually, somebody gifted her a home, I think, in Wales. I think they gave her a home. But here's my last final fun fact about Queen Elizabeth. This is so neat. She used to go incognito. She would go on a trip, like sometimes you got to get away. And she went to Scotland. This is funny. And a tourist came up to her and asked her, "Have you ever met the Queen?" And she didn't say anything, bro. She looked at her bodyguard and she said, "No, but he has."
Yeah, I could imagine being in power or being so wealthy like that. You'd have to be slick, trying to like sneak in and out of places. Because like if you've ever been in any type of leadership, in whether it was in ministry at a church or in some type of position in a company, you know that like your life is in a bubble, right? Your life is in a fishbowl. Everybody wants to know and is in your business, and you live very open. And it's hard to get away from that stuff. We see it in the news with Elon Musk and all these big wealthy people. Everybody's nitpicking on every single thing that they do, man. It's hard to get away from that.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
I have a fun fact. Britain has been preparing for Queen's death since 1960.
What?
Britain has been preparing for the Queen's death since 1960. They've been doing like faux funerals, like celebrations since that time leading up to her death.
So that was like what, 60 years ago?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And that would mean that they were preparing for her death since she was like 40.
I mean, who
like
knows?
35, 40 years old.
But back in the day, it was different because you used to die a lot earlier, right? In your 60s or 70s.
Yeah.
That's kind of what people thought. And then because of modern medication and, inventions and whatnot, life started to live longer. And we know this because Luke and I, and we're in the insurance industry, so we're learning a lot about this, longevity and how life is expanding over the years a lot, further than it used to be. But so that's weird to be preparing for somebody's death since they were 40 years old since 1960.
Jose, we're talking about Queen Elizabeth II. She passed away on Thursday, just so you know. And just to catch you up to speed, anybody that is listening, we are talking about Queen Elizabeth II. And of course, our foundational pillars are faith, family, and freedom, right? And she was definitely somebody that fought for those things. I don't know if you know this, but in World War II, she was not shy to get on the battlefield. She put on a uniform and fought alongside her countrymen.
Wasn't she 19 years old? She was around 19 years old. Apparently, she was the first British woman ever to serve in active duty military at 19 years old.
And royal.
Yeah, royal military.
And royal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at the time she was Princess Elizabeth.
Right. That's crazy. Do you remember when Princess Diana died?
Yes.
That was a big, like,
yeah.
Crazy
I mean, that shook our
that shook the entire world.
Yeah, she was 36 when she passed away.
How old was she? 36?
36.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And back then you even heard conspiracy theories about her dying and why she died.
Yeah.
There were some crazy stories.
Yep.
Crazy stories about that.
Yeah, I even heard that she like slept with like Michael Jackson. Like people say the craziest things.
Bro, I don't know. But I find conspiracy theories interesting. Like, I don't buy into all the conspiracy theories, but I want to learn about them because there's always maybe some tiny little sliver of truth that conspiracy theory started from, right? There's always that one little strand that may be close to the truth, but then it's like that game of Operator. It goes from one mouth to another, to another, to another. Then it becomes, this whole big crazy thing.
Rabbit hole. You're just
it does.
Oh boy! When you grab a hold of a good conspiracy theory, you can
right.
Oh yeah. And each conspiracy theory helps you uncover other conspiracy theories, but a conspiracy theory is you don't know whether it's true or not.
That's exactly right.
There could be validity to it, or it could be just somebody that made it up sitting down in their mom's basement. We don't know.
For sure.
But I like conspiracy. I like a good old conspiracy theory, man. I like a good old one. I try not to dive too deep into them, but here's another fun fact. During her reign, Queen Elizabeth traveled over 1 million miles.
Wow.
1 million miles in her reign. 70-year reign. How long was her reign? 70 years?
70 years.
70 years, yeah. It's equivalent to 40 journeys around the earth. She's the most well-traveled monarch in British history.
That's incredible.
Yeah, pretty wild.
That's incredible.
So, yeah, man. Any other fun facts for Queen Elizabeth?
No, I think we covered it. But we listen. I think it's important that we talk about this, and that there's going to be a shift that's going to take place because you had a God-fearing woman on the throne, and now you've got somebody that, I would even dare say he could be godless.
You don't know what's going to happen, right?
And
that could change the face of,
it could chart a different course for sure.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
so
that's
I think there's going to be some things that are coming down the pike very soon.
Oh yeah, soon. It's like when a president gets into office, their first 100 days, they change everything that the first the president before them put in place. So this was it Harry, right? Harry that took over?
No, Charles.
Prince Charles, now King Charles.
No, Harry, you do not want that, bro.
They get me all confused. So
Harry's
Charles,
the grandson.
Yeah, there you go. Harry's the grandson. But Charles is like an old man now, right?
Right.
He's older, bro. But what's interesting to me is you had this monarchy. You had Queen Elizabeth, and she was gung ho for freedom and and she was conservative. But now you've got Charles, who could be best friends with Joe.
Yeah.
So I think we're swimming in shark infested waters.
Oh, for sure.
Or Epstein. but we won't go down the conspiracy.
Oh man, you want to open up that can of worms? I mean, there's
they've
ties.
got-
There's ties to the royal family. There is ties.
They've got pure factual evidence that Charles was involved with Epstein.
Oh yeah,
Pictures, bro, pictures.
And who knows if that's going to come out now that he's actually in power. If somebody wants to take him down and they get that little black book and they want to start exposing some names, wow, that'll bring the world to his knees, bro.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's it's scary times.
Listen, let's go. Usher it in. You want that one world government? Bring it. Let's go. It's time. Bring it. Come on.
They're rolling it out. They're definitely rolling it out.
Dude, the only thing that I'm concerned with is getting on the street and letting people know about Jesus. So
yeah.
They could shackle me and put me in prison. They could do whatever they want. Burn me at the stake. Let's go.
That's what it takes, man. That's what we signed up for. I mean, we just heard a message in church today, and the preacher was talking about Esther, the book of Esther, and kind of Mordecai and his whole experience, how he groomed Esther to hide her faith and to hide who she was. And they were in a land that they weren't even supposed to be in, but they were hiding and they were suppressing themselves because they didn't want anybody to know. But then when she got in power and her people were in trouble, Mordecai said, you better speak out and you better, let them know that your people are suffering. And, and she could have said, no, heck no, I'm staying who I am. And this is where I am. But she decided to, really fight for a cause that she believed in, whether she would die or not. And she most likely was preparing to die.
Hadassah.
And she stood up for her people. And, the preacher's main point was she was born for such a time as this, at that very moment when her people needed her, when God needed her to speak up, because she was in the highest place of power that her people could be in. But he brought it back to us.
Right.
We live in crazy times right now. The world is flipping messed up.
Right.
It's more dark and messed up than it ever has been in many people's eyes and many people's opinions.
Yeah.
Right. We've had some dark times in the dark ages and stuff like that. Right. But
the devil's not hiding anymore. The devil's not hiding.
That's the thing. It's more prevalent.
Bring it, Luke.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can't watch Disney without seeing the devil. You can't like the thumbprints. You can't go to Redbox and rent a movie that doesn't have witchcraft in it. Like it's questioning everything at this point. Like, man, what do I let my kids watch now? Because I used to think Disney was wholesome, and now they're watching something that could potentially change their, future because of a thought that they placed in their head intentionally.
You must have listened to our last couple podcasts. Come on.
No, not that. No, I didn't. Not that one. I listened to a couple of them, but not any of those.
We talked about that recently, bro. Wow. About Disney. Disney's a big topic on this podcast because we love Disney. We used to, big part of Disney was part of his life, and because they're changing things and it's not so subtle anymore. It's like blatant in your face.
Right.
We don't care what the parents think. We're gonna go after your kids.
We have an agenda. Yeah.
Big agenda, bro.
Yeah, they do have an agenda.
Little Demon, we just talked about this last week on last week's podcast.
Yep.
Little Demon's
I heard about that. I haven't watched. I've heard about it, but I haven't watched it.
You don't need to watch it.
Yeah, I'm sure that's why I didn't watch it. I saw what it was like next. I mean, it's just normal now. At this time, it's like the devil's thumbprints on everything. Yeah. And it makes me question, and this is one of the reasons why I feel like a burden to do this is because I believe just the way Esther was raised to be silent, I feel like believers were raised to be silent. Believers were taught to, hey, we're offending people. Hey, we're stepping on people's toes. Let's get prayer out of schools. Let's not pray. We might offend someone. And then they're like, don't shove Jesus down our throat. But now what are they shoving down our throat? And it's kind of like push us out of the way. You're offending me, so now I can have control. And it's like it's at first it seems innocent.
Come on, bro.
And then it's like, oh, that's what you were doing.
Yeah.
That was now 20 years later, that's what you were trying to do. Because I mean, I'm sorry, but everything. I'm sorry, I get to preach and I just get going.
Preach, man. Preach.
Let's go. This is what we're about. This is what we're about.
Yeah, God is a generational God, and so is the devil. He's mindful of the children of today because he knows it's the future tomorrow. And when God's raising up this next generation, he's raised up people like us for such a time as this. Like, I've listened to some of y'all's podcasts. Like, y'all were probably the wild boys in church, like I was, and I was raised in church. I went and got a testimony. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go earn my stripes and in the world, and thought I knew better and ended up coming back. But God is raising up, and it says when you raise a child upright, in the end they won't depart. And no matter, you can try the world, but it never fulfills, because what your foundation was built on.
Come on,
and so
brother.
That's where you always come back home, and you have to, because you won't have peace without it anyway. So you might as well come home.
Exactly right. Hit it. You hit it right there.
Yeah. Super powerful. The preacher was talking about today also that, back in that time of Esther, they were okay with Christians. They were actually okay with the Church of Christ, because as long as your religion didn't interfere with the cultural statutes, the cultural rules, then they wouldn't bother you. But the moment Christianity started to get above the line and to start to change the culture, which Christianity did, as soon as the culture started being affected by the Christian ways, that's when King Xerxes came down and said, "Oh, heck no, everybody's gonna die now," right? And it was like during that time where like Christians were okay being a little bit reserved, because as long as they didn't ruffle anybody's feathers, they could preach, they could listen to whatever they wanted to do. But as soon as and so we're living in that same time right now, where the government, where the state, where everybody's okay with Christians as long as they don't mess with anybody else's worldviews or with anybody else's views. But as soon as somebody stands up and says, "No, abortion is bad. No, marriage between a man and wife is the way that it should be, and between a man and man shouldn't be," and as long as we don't do that, they're okay with it. But the minute we start doing that, off with their heads.
Right.
Yep.
Christians are crazy. Off with their heads.
That's right.
And I think we're in a similar time where Jesus coming back soon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Crazy times, man.
Yeah.
I said, I shared this with somebody today, and I think this is truth. This is so real. Pastor Glenn, my pastor, spoke about this, and I'm going to paraphrase. You're the next step in salvation history. You are. What started in the garden and was woven through time all the way to Jesus, you're the next step. You're equipped, you're called, you're the story of salvation, and this now depends on our faithfulness, as it was for Paul, Timothy, Philip, Mary, etc., and the countless brothers and sisters that paved the way for us. You're the next step. It's us.
Yep.
People aren't getting saved because they're reading stories about what Paul did. You know what I'm saying? Right. People are getting saved because we're out on the street. We're talking about it within our family circles. We've got friendship groups. We've got new friends. We've got these relationships. And it's all up to us. When I speak in front of people, sometimes I've had them say verbally, "Jesus is Lord." And then I make them wave their hands around like crazy, just all over the place. And then I make them stomp their feet. And then I finish with "We're the mouth and the hands and the feet of him."
Yeah.
And I bring it down to that level like a child, right? Playing like a game in church, because it's that simple. It doesn't have to be any harder than that, right? We are literally his mouthpiece. And we're literally the ones that go out and stir the waters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we're so small in this flicker of existence. If you go back in the timeline, we're born for such a time as this. Because I was thinking about it, man. What was it like to be born when Jesus was born, to have to go walk to the next location because it was 30 miles away or whatever, and it's like, it's a different era. It's a different time period. Everything, we could have been born at another time period, another phase of life, but we're here now. And we see the times. we see where we're at, and it's happening now. These are the end days, because 20 years ago, what they were like, oh, this is the end times, in which very well could be the setup, and now
we have
we're
no
there.
idea. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And it could be it could be this stretch, but we know no matter what, like, this is the time that we are here, and we can either be effective, or we can be pushovers, or we can actually stand up and have values that Jesus stood for. Because at the end of the day, we only have this one life. This is us. This is our time, and we get to give God glory with our lives. And I'm okay with standing up, because at one point I wasn't. At one point I was cool being quiet. I didn't want to speak up. I mean, to be honest with you, like me being on a podcast a year ago, I was good, because I didn't want to put myself out there. I didn't want to be vulnerable. I didn't want to step out of my comfort zone and manage expectations of people, or fear or opinions of men. If I say this, what will they think? And I guess I'm just over it, because it's either fear God or fear man. And at the end of the day, I fear God. And to be honest with you, I really don't fear men. So I don't know why I didn't want to speak up. I just appreciate not being in that spot to take heat if I don't need to. It's like choose your battles type thing. I don't need to catch heat every time. And I say this in the song, I appreciate the silence. I'm fine in the background, not talking. I'm fine, like, in the back, not being on the front. I'm sure, Mark, you're okay not being in the front, but you get pulled up on stage in front of 12,000 people.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Luke, agreed. And Mark, I agree with you, because I was just about to verbally say, listen, we're here to have a good time. We're here to talk about some real things. If you want to jump on the feed and say retarded things, then the consequences are bye-bye. Okay? So if you'd like to be kind, and you'd like to be understanding, and you'd like to pose good questions, in fact, we are live. So at any rate, just be kind. That's all. It's very simple.
Yeah, we got some commenters on Facebook talking a little silly. So Luke, tell me what the turnaround was for you, brother. So I was just on a recent podcast. That podcast is coming out in the next week or so. It's with another ministry guy, but he's an entrepreneur, building his business, representing his family. He came out of ministry. He was a church planner for many years. He's got an incredible testimony. But we talked about this in that podcast, about how there was a period in my life where I was in the church, or in the bubble. I lived it, breathed it, ate it, slept it. I was there. I didn't know outside the world,
right?
Because I was so just submerged in ministry, because I grew up in ministry. I was in ministry with my dad's church. I worked there. I lived there 4 days out of the week. So I went from a place of ministry to no ministry, moving out of Connecticut into Tennessee, and being in a secular, regular job where people would cuss and swear and tell dirty jokes. And it was a little bit of a culture shock to somebody who lived and breathed ministry for their whole life.
Right.
And I went through a place where I was kind of a little more reserved in my faith too, until I said, you know what? Enough is enough. I got to just be me. I don't care what people think. Even if I get fired, this is what I have to do. So I know there was like a light bulb that went off in my life, but I want to hear from like you. What was the turning point in your life over the last year or two that you just said, you know what? Enough is enough. I got to live the way that I'm meant to live. What was that turning point for you?
Yeah. Because depending on two different things, like, if we're going to talk about, the light bulb really switching, because I came back, to my right mind probably about 23, maybe around that area. And
Good age.
So about, even while I was in church and growing up, I still wasn't, I would play the drums on the worship band on Wednesday night. And then we would have it was an underage club called Wild Wednesday, and we got wild. And at 16, 17, I wasn't allowed to go. I wasn't allowed to go, but I would find a way to go. So I would go in, and I would, walk in with underage, and I had been drinking, and I had been doing all this stuff. And so I had lived kind of this double life growing up. And so it was kind of like I was always there, but it wasn't real to me yet. And so when I grew up and you get freedom, you kind of make your own decisions. And, I decided I was going to do my own thing. And then I went twice as crazy as I already was, and just walk down that road. And I can just remember one day laying in bed and to spare the details, but if I told you, it's wild. I can remember, I'm trying to guard how much I say on this, but there was a moment.
No holds barred here, bro. So, I mean, we get real here. So if you want to get real and this is your testimony, share with us.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy, but I remember, us being at a party and I was at some friend's house and they were my friends, but was really connected with these friends. And so they had their little roommates and they had a, big mansion, almost a bunch of guys living the Mac life, and I remember one of the guys got a shipment in that was empty, and he was expecting some stuff and he panicked and was like, holy crap, we got to go. Like, I don't know what just happened, but he's expecting the feds to knock on the door. And so everybody's freaking out in the house. Everyone's going and doing all this, getting things out of the way. Hey, get this out of the house, do this. And I remember going to Hooters that night, and we drank and we're just like hiding out, whatever. Just if they come, they're not going to come at this time. So let's just go back at 1 a.m. or whatever. And we showed up late. And I remember we just partied hard the whole night. This is like, we just don't care at this point. Like, everything that was in the house is back in the house. We're just like living it up. And I remember laying in my bed that morning. It was like 7 a.m. and just going, what am I doing with my life? Like, I am living this wild life. And honestly, like, this kind of spiritual side, but I can just almost remember feeling like there was demons in the room with me. And just me knowing that I was not living the life that I was supposed to be living. I was off track. It was like a wall was down at that moment. Right. And so, anyways, that was my moment.
So you said that you were staying at your house then, or were you at Matt Humphrey's?
I had friends. I had an apartment, and then I had friends that I was always with, and we were kind of like relatives almost, So, but yeah.
I know that life, bro.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up. I didn't grow up like Mark.
Okay, cool. It's funny because maybe I'm gonna blend to both of y'all. We'll see.
I think so. I mean, I was more straight edge until I met Nick, and then he started taking me to clubs at like 13 years old. But we still, we had a good time. But I still stayed straight edge. And then Nick's testimony is he came out of that life of, just debauchery, right? Just sex, drugs, and house music, right?
Yeah.
But he got radically transformed at our church, at the church my dad was running, and it was like night and day different, like 24-hour difference, like boom, cut and dry. And then he just, from that point on, he lived his life up until today, completely sold out for Christ. It's interesting now that I think about that. I just brought on a new business partner who runs a nonprofit ministry called High on Jesus. And his whole ministry is taking people off the streets and off of, so we may have to have him on the podcast too.
Yeah,
that would be fun.
So, but yeah, man, I appreciate that story, Luke. That's powerful.
Yeah, it's when you accept that you're not where you want to be. I think that's the real thing. Like, is this the life I want to live for the next 10, 15, 20, or the rest of my life? And if I pass away early, am I cool with this going on my headstone? Because we're writing our legacy, we're writing our story. And I just wasn't cool with that version of me, knowing that I could have been better. I mentally, I wasn't where I am today, and I can tell you that I've gotten better over the years. That was probably 12 plus years ago now, maybe more than that now, honestly. So,
where'd you say you're living now?
I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada.
He's right on the strip, man.
God sent me to Sin City. He was like, look, go out there.
Are you married?
I am.
How many children?
No kids. I have a beautiful wife. She leads worship at a church here in Las Vegas called City Light Church. But she leads worship there, and she sings. I met her through a mutual friend, which is probably like my equivalent to a Mark. Okay,
Nice.
I had a friend named Matt. Okay, so Matthew, Mark, Luke, we all in here. Okay?
Matt Humphrey.
Yeah. Yes. How do you know Matt Humphrey?
That's my mother from another mother. That's my brother from. We went to different schools together at the same time.
Come on, man. Look, he said you would quote unquote stay the night at his house, but not stay the night.
Yeah. He commented. He commented on
That's
Facebook.
Awesome. What's up, Matt? That's my guy. That's my guy.
Awesome, bro.
That's good.
Well, Matt, I'd love to meet you one day, brother. You're probably a lot alike. So
yes,
So hey, listen, Nick. I mentioned to Nick briefly that you're a hip hop artist.
Yes, sir.
Will you tell us a little bit about that? And notice how I didn't say you're a Christian hip hop artist, right?
Right.
I'm a firm believer that we are designed in the image of God, but that Christian or non-Christian, we have certain skills, and God's given us those skills. And just because we're Christian doesn't mean we're a Christian hip hop artist. We're a hip hop artist that loves Jesus, right?
Absolutely.
So you're a hip hop artist. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, it's funny, but Matt has a big part of it. Me and Matt were in the band together growing up. He plays music. I learned music, whatever, and he would make beats. And we used to have this. We call it the upstairs records, right? And we were just making music and whatnot. But when I got older, I remember Matt threw on a beat, and I just started freestyling over the beat. And I started kind of realizing. Now I was saying crazy things, like this was like wannabe gangster Luke talking crazy on the microphone, but I realized I had rhythm and I could do it. And so over the years, just kept kind of practicing and started writing a little bit and getting more into it over the years. And it just turned out to like, okay, I can do this. Like, I like this. This is fun to me. And so I just kept going at it, ended up getting picked up by a label several years ago now, about almost 8 years now. And everything, it did not, crazy story. That's a crazy God story on that end, but no longer with that label. And I'm kind of doing things independent right now. I do this part-time compared to my business because I just made up my mind. I didn't want to be a broke rapper, and I wasn't like out in the streets hustling. I'm not living that life. I run a business. I'm a business owner. I wake up and grind every day for myself, me and my wife, and we do this. And it's been a pleasure, but I do this like at night at like 11 o'clock to like 4 a.m. Like I do this at crazy time periods to get it done.
I saw a post the other day of you on Facebook talking about it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm fighting with myself. Do I go to sleep or do I continue making beats? And then you cracked a Red Bull and you're like, well, I guess we're doing this then. Yeah, bro. That's kind of like Nick. Nick doesn't sleep ever. I don't think I've ever seen him sleep. He's just a night owl and he just stays up. And then he wakes me up in the middle of, first thing in the morning with two katanas standing over my head. Well, I used to live with Nick, so some crazy story. But hey, listen, you sent me a link to a song that you recently came out with. Do you mind if I share that?
Go ahead.
Nick, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to listen to this song. And I'm going to share my audio.
I would love to hear you.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. This is a international debut of Luke Anthony. All right, let's go. Ready? Here we go.
Hi, kids. Do you like violence? Do you want to see when an aborted baby looks like chopped up lifeless? Ask your mom what happened to baby Ivan. He was going to grow up, be a Tennessee Titan. I'm not lying. He would have been the tight end. Introduced you to your wife and been your mom's retirement. I'm sorry, I meant. Oh, looky there, man. I have to leave, man. I can't believe where the time went. You ever seen a Christian get beheaded by ISIS? Listen to blood cries on the ground, the sound of the righteous sacrifices. The devil tries to confuse your identity. The reality you made in God's likeness is diabolical. It's untold evil, and you ain't ever really seen nothing like this. These guys bribe scribes to hide truth on papyrus. I don't know, I see differently through my iris. Whatever happened to the giants and the hybrids, like Osiris? Man, this world's so blind, it's more blind than the 3 blind mice is. We won't be here long, we'll be out your hair like lice is. Just remember the name you only remember when you in the middle of a crisis. Do yourself a favor and recite this. I pledge allegiance to the kingdom of heaven. I believe it's a hand, so Jesus forgive me for my sins. And please, Lord God, help me to repent. Whoever believes in their heart and calls in his name shall be saved. So I thank God for his amazing grace. Man, scientist in the lab, like look, no surprises. Just close your eyelids to die back with another virus. That's not all, it's a fentanyl, so y'all can OD. It's just little old me taking a sip from this old tea. Oh my gosh, is he drunk? Like who spiked this? And now he's driving. I bet he doesn't even have a license. Y'all can cut me off. Man, I show you where the knife is. And I just got here. I didn't even know where the mic is. I didn't want to do this. I appreciate the silence, but not my will be done because this ain't my wish. I'm called to the game, so I guess these are my fish. No horoscopes and no pipes.
I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave it there because I want people to go check it out on your YouTube channel. So I'm gonna link it up in the comment section. And bro,
so
that
dope.
was so sick. So sick,
dope.
Bro.
Thank you guys.
Congratulations on that. I would buy that album in a heartbeat. Such a good song, man. And are you selling that right now? Or are you just blasting it on YouTube for anybody?
Yeah, I'm just blasting it. I got because it's not my beat. I don't own the rights to it. It's an Eminem classic. But it's funny because I posted this right, and then the other day I saw someone they did it too, and they wrote their own thing on it, and I'm like,
nice.
they saw mine and went and did it because that's old. You know what I mean?
But the lyrics were so like well thought out. They were so.
It's a deep song. Like that's what I keep hearing from the people who listen to it. They're like, I got to listen to it and pick it apart because it's like that next line. I say, oh, what did I say? I was like, I appreciate the silence. I was like, this isn't my will. This isn't my wish.
Wait, where I just cut it off?
Yeah.
Right, let me share it.
Listen to the right after Ryan.
Easy to me. I spit some hard bars so hard even demons can see. I make them clench their butt cheeks tighter than a rich cyclist. Having a midlife crisis, doing backflips with Ryan Nyquist. Hope these tithing offerings suffices. But heaven is for real, you can't buy this. Sharks in the water, great whites wouldn't bite this. It's coming back soon for your sons and daughters, don't fight this. Not by my power, but God's spirit gotta smite this. I'll leave the cipher for you to decipher. Give me a second while I try to cipher off the rest of this gas. We about to see the mark of the beast and we taking cash.
Oh, I can't. Sick, bro. There's some lines in that will slap people in the face. It will slap people in the face, bro.
That was dope.
Kudos to you, man. Super good stuff.
I am going to be selling an album soon. I've got beats. I'm sitting on like 20 songs. I have a lot of music, and I have beats, but the problem is I've been writing to more beats that I don't own, and I'm like, stop doing that. So maybe I'll come out with a mixtape. I have no idea. I'm putting songs together. I'm doing music. I'm just putting me out there. That's really what it is. I got to do what I feel like God told me to do.
Well, I'm glad you and Nick are meeting, because Nick has a lot of connections in the industry up north, Connecticut, New York, and that whole area, New Jersey. And so maybe if things work out and God opens doors, there could be some type of
I was just going to actually say to you, bro, we just had a really, really good festival called City Fest. I don't know if you know the Palau organization. Do you know Luis Palau?
No, I don't.
Ever heard of him? He's like, I'm not joking. He's like the Spanish Billy Graham. This guy, incredible. So the Palau organization, we just did something called City Fest. We had Lecrae there. We had Toby Mac there. But we had this guy named George Moss there. Do you know George Moss?
No, I don't.
So he'll be on the show soon.
Okay.
I would love to introduce you to some people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd love it.
And when you come out with your album or your hip hop whatever, let us know. We'll have you on again. We'll do like a little celebration stuff. So we love celebrating local artists. We love celebrating local business owners. I mean, we love it. So if you guys are listening on this show tonight, this podcast, you're watching the replay, listening to the replay, and you're a local artist, a local business, an entrepreneur, a businessman, a pastor, prophet, teacher, and you want to get on this show, let us know. Reach out to Nick or myself. We'd love to interview you and potentially have you guys on. This is not just about us, man. This is about who we can help
Yes.
reach the world, right? We want to get the word out. And if it comes from us, comes from Nick, comes from Luke, doesn't matter who it comes from, we want to get the word out, out to the world.
Sure.
So, but yeah, man.
Thank you guys.
But I'm super excited to have you on the show, bro. Nick, man, we're at 50 minutes. What are your last words? And you have any last words you want to say? And then we're gonna wrap it up. Luke, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love for you to pray for our listeners and our watchers.
Yeah, that would be great. I guess we're not going to get too deep involved in this. I know we're at 50 minutes.
We literally could stay on for probably another 2 hours. But
we could. There's no doubt.
Maybe do a part two. We'll do a part two.
Yeah. You know, listen, God is faithful, and He's doing. Listen, you hear this a lot and often in the church. He's doing something new. He's not doing something new, but people are waking up, and we're starting to. People are being activated, right? My prayer is that people and pastors and evangelists and in ministry would be activated, right? I don't know if you've heard about the Send. That's Lou Angle and the Call. I don't know if you heard about those big events. Yeah. The Send is to fight in action, okay? We talked about this today in church. It's our job. I read that thing to you that my pastor talked about. We're the next steps. So it's very important for us to realize that God has commissioned us. The Lord said, go and make disciples, right? We spoke about this on Friday. I didn't get to share this with you, Mark. We did an event on Friday night. Great. And I heard somebody say this. Did Jesus come and say to the sinners? Did he say to the gamblers? Did he say to the broken? Did he say I'm going to pray for you and we're going to go out and do this work and all these different things and this and that? No, man, he just loved on them. He took care of them. He helped them. He hugged them. He spoke with them like we speak. You know, one of my prayers is, and this might even go out to Tom who was watching. One of my prayers is that you would understand, Tom, that this is not about, what you experienced in the past. This is not typical Christianity, what you're seeing right here. Mark and Luke and we're not playing church, brother. We just want you to know the love of God. We want you to understand that his love is real. It's not about the four walls of the church and all the religiosity and all the legalism and all of that stuff, the doctrines and the theology. What is love? Mm-hmm. What does that look like? Mm-hmm. What does that look like for me? Mark, what does that look like for you? Luke, how does that translate in your life? How do we love our wives? How do we love our children? How do we love people when we walk out the door? How do we love his children? Time to end the false, fake nonsense, the facade that has gone up. It's time for us to love people into his arms the way that Christ loved the broken. He didn't come to save the people sitting in the pews. He didn't come to save the people that are already churched.
Point.
It's not about them. That's it.
That's literally who he got in a fight with. It's literally who he beefed with was the Pharisees, was the religious.
That's it. Bro, that's it.
That's such
you
a
know,
good
when
point.
they were outside.
Enough of fake Christians, fake Christianity.
That's it. When they were outside Matthew's house and he was inside and he was with them, the tax collector and all the people that were in there, he knew what they were saying and thinking. Got it. He understood. I'm not here for the people that are healed and have Band-Aids and all. I'm here for the broken. I'm here for the sick. I'm here for that's what I'm here for. That's what you're here for. That's it.
Yeah. Sick, man. Don't get me started. We're going to start preaching again in a second.
I know, yeah. I was like, this could just open up a whole other can.
Oh, serious, bro. You have no idea. So, Luke, I appreciate you, brother. I'm so glad we're in business together, man.
Absolutely,
Listen,
man.
I was glad to see you in Vegas when we got a chance to chat and shake hands and hug each other, man. I'm looking forward to the next big event that we get together with and be in person. And Nick will probably be with us. But brother, do us an honor and go ahead and pray for our listeners and pray for our watchers and just bless them tonight. Yeah. And we appreciate you being on.
All right, man. Thanks for having me. All right, dear God, I pray for every single person who hears this message, God. I just pray that they would be transformed, Father, that whatever way of thinking that they've had in the past, that would fall off, Father, that they would be able to see you for who you truly are, and God, and not who the world may paint you to be, Father. But I ask that you would encounter each person specifically for what they need, God, so that you can show yourself to them for who you are, God. And I just ask that you would bless them, God, meet all their needs according to your riches and glory, God. And I pray that they would find you, Father, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen, brother. God bless, guys.
God bless.
I'm really a nice guy, but I won't be here long. So why lie?
This is Mark here. Thanks so much for joining us on this last podcast. We really, truly appreciate your support. We definitely could not do this without you. If you can take just a brief second and click that share button, share this podcast to your social media, get this message out to more people so that there's a greater impact on our community. And for those of you who want to give a little extra support, leave a review on Spotify, Apple Music, or Google Podcast. Thanks so much. God bless, and we'll see you in the next episode.